Okay, so let's talk again. So the nursing industry is facing a shortage. How does it affect you guys day to day? I mean, does that mean when we say it's a shortage, does that mean you and other nurses are having to work more shifts, more hours? How does it affect burnout? I would think that would be something big that happens.
So I think a big part of that is finding how to be creative with the workforce that we have, finding ways for everybody to operate up to the highest level of their potential in their education. So we do see that. We offer special incentives for staff to work more than their normal shifts, but also just really finding that work-life balance too. So one big thing with that, looking at burnout, that is a very big thing we look at. While we appreciate and love when people do want to work more than their normal shifts, we are also very realistic that it causes burnout. And that has been one of the things as we've seen the population age and have more patients, that also our nursing workforce is aging. So burnout has been something we've really watched.
So with all that said, I'll put you kind of on the spot, but would you both still recommend nursing as a career to people, and tell me why, if
Yes.
not?
No, I definitely would. I think nursing is a very rewarding career. I think it challenges you. There's so many different unique opportunities when you go into nursing, whether you want to work in a doctor's office or whether you want to work in a nursing home or you want to be a school nurse or you want to work in a hospital. And then there's so many subspecialties if you enjoy wound care or if you like the heart and cardiology. So there's a little bit something for everyone in nursing. You also get to work as part of a team and you get to solve problems every day with that team. And you truly are in a profession where you have the opportunity every day to impact the patients and families that trust us to care for them. So I would 100% choose nursing every time.
Yeah. What do you think?
I completely agree. I would always recommend nursing to anybody. It's a profession that combines science, critical thinking, and compassion. You're going to have an impact on someone every day, no matter what you're doing. And just like Ashley said, there's so many things you can do. Even as you advance through the profession, you can work in, information technology. You can work in research, leadership. And it's a great way that you can continually progress. So I always say, absolutely, it's a profession that there are no boundaries to.
Well, as I said earlier, and I believe this, it takes a special person to be a nurse, and just the things that you guys do, you have to have that caring spirit to see the things you see and do the things you do. How hard is it, or is it hard for either of you to, on one end, you're caring for your patients, you're wishing for the best outcomes that you can have, and I'm sure a lot of times you get to see that, and then sometimes you don't get to see that. How hard is that not to take that home with you sometimes?
Yeah, I think you really touched on what we've kind of talked about with burnout and what is most challenging, but yet what is most rewarding about the career itself. Because you have to have that critical thinking that Lene mentioned, but you also have to have that strong empathy for your patients and your families. And sometimes that mental challenge of doing both of those things day in and day out, I think can lead to burnout. So I think that's why it's important for nursing leaders like us to be able to make sure that our nurses feel supported, that they feel heard, and that they feel empowered and have everything that they need to do their job and to do their job well.
Lene, do you find it difficult sometimes? Do you have a situation where you have a especially difficult case and you go home and you find yourself having a hard time turning, things off? Does that happen? Is that a challenge?
So as a younger nurse, that was things that would happen, but that is one thing anytime we bring in new nurses, that's the first thing I talk to them about is you have to find what's that healthy outlet for you when you get home. For me, it's just taking a walk around my property or my drive home, rolling the windows down. So that way you can really turn that off, focus on what, that's your home balance, what's going on there, and just having a healthy way to process it.
So for people who are listening or watching and they're interested in perhaps a career in nursing, what would you tell them is, and this is one of those questions, but what's the hardest thing about nursing right now? And then when we're done, I'd like to know, what's the best thing?
Mm-hmm. I would say the hardest thing about nursing is anything with healthcare, it is evolving every day. Whether it's evidence-based practice is changing or technology is changing, it is constantly evolving. The nursing position I came into 20 years ago, although it's still there, it looks completely different than the nursing position there today. So just constantly being able to adapt and be able to move quickly is a big thing with nursing.
Yeah, I think that's challenging, but then I go back to the flip side. I think that's exciting too, because then you get to see how healthcare is evolving in different ways to be able to connect and support your patients.
Do you guys find there's a lot of, along those lines, is there still a lot of red tape when it comes to healthcare? And is that a taboo subject, you know, a little bit? I know, it just seems like my brother's a doctor, and we talk about different things, and it just seems like sometimes you're still struggling with, you know, all the paperwork and stuff, when in the end, you're just really trying to get someone the help they need.
Yeah, I don't think it's taboo necessarily. I do think that there are certain regulatory requirements that hospitals and different organizations are required to follow, not just healthcare, but a lot of different industries, you know. And I think, you know, we have to make sure that we're following those standards and continuing to deliver the highest level of care to our patients. I do think sometimes from a nursing standpoint, you mentioned documentation, and I think sometimes that does create a burden. I think, you know, we specifically been looking at how do we leverage technology to help offload some of that burden. So I do think it can be challenging, but I think, you know, some pieces of it are necessary. And again, it's on healthcare and nursing leaders to see how they can best support their teams to be able to overcome those burdens and challenges.
So, as I continue to put you on the spot here, what's the best thing about nursing? I know there's got to be a ton of stuff. Is there any one thing that stands out day to day that you just, you know, I know that's kind of an open-ended question. I'm sorry.
I think the best thing about nursing is the human connection. No matter what, even if you're sitting behind a desk as a leader or as an information technology nurse, or you're a front, like, you're touching a human in some way and making that human's life a little bit better at their most vulnerable time.
Yeah, I would echo what Lene said. I think that human connection, and I think there's human connections and experiences that you take with you throughout your career. I can reflect on specific situations and patients and families that
Sure.
I had the opportunity to be a part of their healthcare journey, and I still reflect on what I learned and the opportunity that I had to walk with them through that journey.
I wanted to hit on that, if it's okay with you guys. If there's if you could name a specific situation that you were in that you still remember, you know, that stays with you because of whatever reason. Do you guys have? I'm sure you have a ton of them, but for the sake of time.
Yes, so my background is I'm a NICU nurse. So there have been so many journeys that I have been part of the start of. So recently, I actually got to see one of a NICU graduate that I helped care for start their journey into the healthcare career. So that was one thing I can remember, some of the days taking care of them in the NICU when they were tiny and, you know, supporting their parents. And then a huge reward was seeing them take that jump and start into the healthcare journey too. It almost brought it full circle for me. So
Yeah, that's got to be really cool. Man, those NICU nurses, boy. I don't know if you guys, you know, my wife and I had a baby that was in the NICU for a long time, and that's where I learned that, you know, nurses are special. Because there were some days, I mean, I don't know if you could, it's so tough what you're going through that it's hard to, and if you don't have the support that you get, the optimism, things like that. Is there a specific thing that came to your mind when we were?
So I think there's several, but, you know, Lene talked about the beginning of life, and I think we always get excited about those opportunities, but I've worked med-surg my whole career, and I've had a lot of opportunities to be with families and patients at the end of life. And while that's challenging, I still think that's very rewarding to be able to be there with that patient and family. I can think of one individual in particularly that it stood out early in my career when I hadn't had as much experience with that. And I think that experience taught me a lot as a nurse and as a individual, just being able to be with that family and that patient during that difficult time.
Do you feel like there's still a kind of beauty in that time as well?
I do. Like I said, I really do. I am a person of faith, and I know everybody has their own faith beliefs and faith journey, but to me, it's very special to be able to be there and help families and patients.
Yeah. You guys mentioned technology and how it's changing. Of course, everybody's talking about artificial intelligence. Do you guys see AI as a tool that nurses will be using in the future, and how so?
Hey, most definitely, and definitely putting it like that as a tool to help them in their jobs, to make them able to be able to operate at their highest capacity. There's a lot of ways, and I feel like Ashley's more the savvy person with this stuff, so I'll let her kind of speak more on the AI part.
Yeah, so I think hospitals right now are looking at what's out there. There's a lot of different things happening in that space, and it's happening quickly. But to your guys' point, I think there will be tools that may be able to help with things like patient safety, that maybe fall prevention, some of the higher risk things that we see with our patients, helping keep our patients safe. I also think when we talk about the workload on our nurses and the burnout, I think there's some opportunity with technology to help remove some of those tasks and give them more time back at the bedside to interact with their patients. I think most all of us that are in healthcare went into healthcare for the patients. So if we can really leverage that technology to give nurses time back at the bedside with patients, I think that will be huge.
So obviously you both find your career, it would seem, find your careers rewarding. What would your message be to someone, again, who is thinking about nursing as a career? And what are some of the resources that, I know we've got different nursing schools in the area, but what are some of the resources that you might recommend that someone, maybe something online or something, if they really want to kind of get a feel for what they would be getting into? Is there anything that pops into your mind, Ashley?
I'll let you take that one because I feel like that's more in her
Okay,
wheelhouse.
sure.
So I would say for anybody even thinking about it, go for it. Look into it. You might think you want to do one track of nursing or even one track in healthcare, but there's so much there, and unless you see it and experience it, you may not realize really what it's truly about. And find someone. Everyone knows somebody in healthcare, so talk to those people. That is the biggest resource I think anyone would have, is actually talking to someone in the healthcare field. And then there are all different types of programs, whether you're looking at nursing schools, healthcare organizations that offer programs to get even as young as high school students in there to start seeing things and experiencing it. And always shadow. That's my biggest plug. Shadow, shadow, shadow. If
Yeah,
you can
no, that's a good
shadow,
one.
come in and see what it is like day to day. So it's not what you see on TV all the time.
Ashley, what is the turnarounds for someone who may want to be a nurse? Like, how long do you have to go to school?
Yeah, so I think it depends on what program you choose, and there's not a right or a wrong program to choose. So there are LPN programs where you can enter into a career in nursing that can take as little as a year. And there's programs that you can even get some of those classes started when you're a high school student. So I know there's some people that take advantage of that. Then if you're looking at an RN tract, you can get an RN degree in as little as 2 years with an associate's degree, or up to 4 years with a bachelor's degree. And all of those paths can kind of lead you to the next path with additional training. And then beyond your bachelor's degree, there's opportunities for a master's degree if you're interested in being a nurse practitioner and being able to see your own patients and collaborate with a physician to take care of those patients. So just lots of different opportunities from that education advancement standpoint in nursing, and lots of ways to enter in. And again, I just like to emphasize, I don't think there's one right or one wrong. It just depends on where you're at and what you're looking to do.
Gotcha. All right, well, let's get down to brass tacks here as we kind of wrap things up. What is the best show about ERs on TV?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I'm sitting there thinking, I'll tell you guys a story. I'll let you think about it. But years ago, I was doing a story about nursing, and I went in, and the students were doing a hypothetical roundtable where they, patient comes in, presents this. And of course, I'd been watching ER, like crazy. So I interviewed the girl, the student, and I said, in that situation, wouldn't you have gone with like a CBC Chem 12 on that? Maybe a head chest CT? Because that's what they always said, I didn't know what any of it meant. And she didn't get it. She didn't think it was funny. So there you go. But is there a show? Is one show better? The Pit is really popular right now.
I don't really watch medical shows normally.
Yeah, probably. Maybe you don't, right? When you get home, you're like, the last thing I want to do is watch a show about my job.
Yeah, but the nurses that I work with that do watch them, I have heard a lot of good comments about the Pit.
Okay.
That's the one I've heard too. That's most realistic too. So.
All right, well, we'll leave it at that. I know that'd be like me going home to watch a bunch of shows about the news business, on your time. But ladies, thank you for coming in and talking to us about the nursing industry. I think it was enlightening, and like I said, I'll always think that nurses are special people. So we appreciate what you guys do. So.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yes.
You bet. You bet. Our pleasure for sure. That's going to do it for us, everyone, for this edition of Convos with Cunningham. Until next time, I'm Jeff signing off.